This video is going to be sponsored by Honkai Star Rail, the free cross-platform RPG made by Hoyoverse, the makers of Genshin Impact, and now is available to play on both mobile and PC, and will be coming to PlayStation in Q4 2023. Join the 80 million plus people who have downloaded this game since it's been released by using my link to download the newest version 1.3. Star Rail is a space fantasy RPG that allows you to explore different worlds across the universe, immerse yourself into a world filled with action-packed adventure with unbelievably great animation and music. The team building possibilities of this game are unrivaled, with diverse enemy environments, characters, and upgrades to give you a truly personalized strategic experience. There are more than 20 playable characters, each with their own personality and backstory and charm, and best of all, is semi-open world. The new 5-star character, Imbibitor, Lunae, is a male character of a few words, but embodies elegance and a noble demeanor. Don't let those attractive dragon-like features fool you. He has the power to manipulate water and life and can fire off successive waves of attacks to dish out heavy damage that will leave behind a path of destruction as the best imaginary type DPS character. Then there's Xuan, the head of the Divination Commission, the information processing department of Zion Zolofu. She's young and an expert at divination. On top of being extremely ambitious, she's a quantum type character of the path of preservation, reducing damage received by her teammates and even taking damage for them, making her the ideal support character. In version 1.3, you'll experience a story that falls after the main Zion Zo story and learn more about the characters and places, while also introducing a new version of the simulated universe, a roguelike gameplay mode where players can hone their skills in this new challenge game mode. There are 10 free warps waiting to be won. Log in for 7 days to claim 10 Star Rail special passes for free. They can be used to pull Imbibitor Lunae or Xuan, and if you use my link and redemption code, you get 50 Stellar J. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another review for Boruto Two Blue Vortex Chapter 2, and this chapter puts its foot all the way on the gas, and it sped past most of our expectations heading into the chapter. While we didn't get that triple threat match of Boruto versus Kawaki versus Code, we did get a ton of action with Code's Claw Grimes attacking Boruto and company, and we ended off the chapter with Boruto showcasing a brand new power that he's unleashing with the intention to kill Code. The only thing this chapter didn't do is answer the question of where is Sasuke Sensei, because our favorite Uchiha is currently on a milk carton with the words, "Have you seen me?" Which, if you're worried about Sasuke, I am now right there with you. So with my initial thoughts out of the way, let's back things up and let's dive into the review itself. So right away, we see the tone being set for this chapter, where it's made clear that the darker tone of Boruto Part 2 is not a temporary thing. This is here to stay. Boruto's conversation with Code early on in the chapter makes that much clear, because we see a different side of Boruto than what we've seen in the past, where he was more happy-go-lucky and very sarcastic. But in Boruto Naruto Next Generations, Boruto lived a more posh life for most of the time, and he still had that bright spirit even after Momoshiki was somebody he found out was inside of him. However, this Boruto right now in Boruto Two Blue Vortex, he is colder, he is darker, he is more serious, and Sarada notices it right away as Boruto's telling Code to remove the Ten-Tailed soldiers out of the village before Boruto kills Code. Boruto's dark tone might have had Code laughing in disbelief, thinking that Boruto was bluffing, but Sarada's worried expression makes it clear, because she knows Boruto's not bluffing and is dead serious, and that is something we as readers need to take really important note of, because there's importance behind this. The Boruto who is giving Code the ultimatum to leave the village or get killed by my hands is a stark difference to the old Boruto. The old Boruto made it a point not to kill people. He was every bit the child who was a product of growing up in a life of luxury and abundance, wanting nothing more than to eat Thunder Burgers whenever he saw fit to waste his money earned from missions, and basically playing ninja, where he might have to slapbox some people like Shojoji, but Boruto never actually killed them. Even with someone like Ao, who killed Mujino right in front of Boruto, when Boruto had the chance to kill Ao, he set the screwdriver down next to him and he spared his life. That's not this Boruto. He has no problems or qualms killing, which means the last 3 years of Boruto have been nothing short of a nightmare, where he's been looking over his shoulders day and night, hiding from the Konoha Anbu Black Ops, hiding from the Black Ops from other hidden villages, and losing sleep wondering if Code's Claw Grimes were even getting closer to his location. It's for that reason that Sarada tries to speak to Boruto, but Boruto cuts off, saying that there are still people who are in need of help evacuating the village, and Boruto refuses to make eye contact with Sarada, telling her only to survive, which that's our first major sign of how heavy of a burden Boruto has been carrying around around these last few years. He sees Sarada for the first time in 3 years, and the main message he gives her is to survive. Now compare that to Naruto when he first saw Sakura after 2.5 years, and you see the tone change, albeit these are different circumstances, but this Boruto has gone through more in 3 years than Naruto did over the 2.5 years, which is why he's more jaded, and being the typical shonen antagonist that he is, Code is making the mistake of believing the Boruto before him was the same scared little boy he was hunting down during the time skip. Something has changed inside of Boruto, and the chapter has hinted at what exactly this is and why Boruto is in such an urgent rush to stop Code and have him destroy the claw grinds and allow Boruto to destroy the main body of the Ten Tails. But we'll touch on that in a bit, because there's something I do think people are overlooking when it comes to this information here. What we see next in the chapter is that Masashi Kishimoto is allowing Code's claw grinds to be used as a benchmark to show us how strong the different members of Boruto's generation have gotten during the 3-year time skip, and it's a good focus on the members of Team 10 who are using combination attacks to handle the Ten-Tailed soldiers, using so much coordination that Himawari is left stunned by the level of teamwork that she's able to see them use. But with this new generation, we're seeing a common theme of them having their guard lowered is still an ongoing thing. Just like if you read Boruto Naruto Next Generations very closely, 12-year-old Boruto had to be told several times to keep his guard up, where Naruto in the sparring match with Boruto in the early part of the Vessel arc showed exactly this, where Naruto distracted Boruto with this ninja tech hand that absorbed Boruto's water release. Also, Naruto could use body flicker to get behind Boruto and kick him onto the ground, and we saw Ao get the drop on Boruto twice for having his guard lowered, once on the train when he put the screwdriver on his neck, and the second time when Konohamaru had to take a laser beam from the drone when Boruto was off guard during the fight with Ao. We see that members of Boruto's generation, while they're clearly strong and they're very skilled, their sense of battle awareness is still lacking, just as Boruto's was in part 1, and just like how Naruto's was at times in Naruto part 1. A classic example being how Sakura in the manga, when Zabuza throws his execution blade, Sakura has to save Naruto from getting killed. But unlike Boruto and unlike Naruto, they have not been in constant life or death situations, in particular Boruto, for the last 3 years of this actual manga. Chocho is shown being off guard because the claw grinds are able to teleport out of each other's bodies, and this leads to Chocho almost getting tagged by the Ten-Tailed soldier before Inojin grabs hold of her and takes it high up into the sky. However, Inojin isn't any better than Chocho, because unlike his father Sai, who would have already had another plan of attack in place for the Ten-Tailed soldier, he was taken into the air, like say taken into the air and then releasing it and then following it up with a Super Beast scroll in order to chase it down through the air and seal it. Inojin just grabs hold of this thing by the arms, and he has the nerve to patronize Chocho, telling her not to lower her guard when he's guilty of doing the same thing. That Ten-Tailed soldier has a tail, and the tail destroys Inojin's Eek Bird, and it's there that we see why Ino and Sai were getting onto Inojin several times in the anime for his laid-back nature, because that's not something that either one of them would have done, especially Sai. But again, it's a different era. Sai grew up in an era where the Five Nations are in open Cold War. He was raised in the Anbu Black Ops as a part of Danzo's route, where only the best of the best survived, and their battle instincts were sharpened into a blade to be used at Danzo's discretion for missions too dark to be put on the official books of the Leaf Village. Compared to Inojin's soft upbringing, Sai would have handled this situation different, and it's because of Inojin's error that he puts himself and Himawari in harm's way. But thankfully for them, Kawaki is the one who shows up ready to save the day. However, there's a catch. Kawaki might have saved them, but he didn't do it out the kindness of his heart or any loyalty to them, not the way that Boruto would have done that situation. His movements and actions, they were as cold and calculated as they were in Boruto Part 1. Most importantly, he knows that despite being the son of Naruto in the eyes of others, he doesn't want the familiarity that comes with that title, which is why when Himawari called him Big Brother, Kawaki gives her a disgusted look of annoyance, and he tells her, "Don't call me that," making a point to say that he's done this before in the past, telling her not to do that. So this is a repeat thing, which is another sign of dramatic irony, where we as the audience know something that the characters in universe don't know. We know that Kawaki isn't Naruto's son, but Himawari doesn't know that. It's only natural for her to call Kawaki Big Brother, because before the Shinjutsu took place, that's the relationship she had with Boruto. Boruto was the overprotective big brother who got upset on her behalf when Naruto sent a shadow clone to her birthday. So it's only natural, now that her memories of Boruto and Kawaki have been reversed, that she thinks that Kawaki is her protective big brother who she admires, the very same big brother who she told Hinata in the Boruto manga that she wanted to become a ninja in order to assist Boruto one day. After Hinata's been made aware that Kawaki has killed Boruto, the hurt look on Himawari's face right there, it says it all. She's been crushed by the words coming out of Kawaki's mouth, and Kawaki, being the cold-hearted individual he is, he could care less, but because he's only tolerating her due to the fact that she's Naruto's youngest daughter. What we're seeing right here is what the story of Boruto Two Blue Vortex is truly about at its heart. If Boruto Naruto Next Generations was a story of father and son, and the son's story was about a spoiled boy who had everything taken away from him, Boruto Two Blue Vortex is the story of a boy in Boruto who lost everything he took for granted and is slowly regaining it, while Kawaki represents the person who went from having nothing to having everything and is slowly losing it all because he's like that lottery ticket winner who wins billions because he hits the jackpot and he goes broke a few years later because money doesn't change you or your habits. It just highlights what's already there. And so too does love to an extent when you think about it. When someone like Kawaki receives a ton of love when it's not something that they're used to, they don't know how to handle it, and they eventually end up pushing people away. Kawaki's love for Naruto, it turned into obsession because he didn't know how to handle a father's love. If you go back to the anime canon episode where Kawaki's origin story is told, we saw what type of a father he had. His father sold Najigan. His father was beating him with alcohol bottles. He didn't know how to handle having Naruto's fatherly love actually given to him, and so he eventually pushed Naruto away to a point where Hinata slapped Kawaki, and Naruto tells Kawaki, hey, if you're gonna kill my son, you gotta kill me first. Right now, Kawaki is pushing away Himawari and Mitsuki based on the actions of the last two chapters. He's pushing them back into the waiting arms of Boruto. However, what we also see here is that Kawaki's battle sense has gotten rusty during these last 3 years as well, because he's caught off guard by the claw grind that has the rinnegan, and he's been knocked into the ground, which is a pretty big deal when you consider just how strong the rinnegan makes someone. And off guard Kawaki getting his face stomped into the ground, it isn't too crazy because number one, he was off guard without his dojutsu active and he can't see 360 degrees, but most importantly, these claw grinds are stronger than they're getting credit for with the actual fandom itself. When we look at the claw grinds, they aren't too different than concepts we had explored in the 72 volumes of Naruto's manga. There's actually quite a bit of overlap. Biju's chakra is stronger when it's still inside of a Jinchuriki, and the two chakras merge together inside of a human body and grow, bringing out more power than either could do on their own. Code took the chakra of the Ten Tails and broke it apart into the claw grinds into a humanoid body and inserted his own chakra into it on top of that, effectively serving the same purpose that the Hidden Villages did when they sealed part of the Ten Tails into a Jinchuriki by sealing the One Tails into someone like Gar and working your way all up to the ladder where you have Naruto getting Kurama sealed inside of him. These claw grinds have a portion of the Ten Tails chakra. They have Code's chakra, and it's in a humanoid body where the chakra will grow. But now you have to add in the rinnegan and you get another boost. If you'll recall, Obito, when he tells Sakura that she needs to destroy his rinnegan, he says that just one rinnegan was enough that the power nearly drove him insane because he couldn't handle the chakra of the rinnegan, even when the body was made up of half of Hashirama cells. Nagato, being an Uzumaki, was able to handle both rinnegan at the same time, but he also had an enormous chakra pool, even for an Uzumaki, and he had a strong life force to counterbalance it. In both cases, Nagato and Obito were using another person's rinnegan that was not their eye, but these Ten-Tailed soldiers are using their own rinnegan right now, since they're made out of the chakra of the original body of the Ten-Tails. However, as we see in the chapter, Kawaki is more than capable enough on his own to deal with the claw grind that has the rinnegan, because when Shikadai catches it with the Shadow Strangle Jutsu, Kawaki cuts his Karma Seal on and he blows the claw grind apart using his ninja tech. But what I find interesting about this is that when we contrast this to Boruto, Kawaki, you can argue, he's gotten rusty, even though he's clearly gotten more accustomed to his Otsutsuki powers. Because if you look at it logically, he was already strong enough that he could handle Boruto. He's literally already killed him once before. And with his master Ishiki's dojutsu, that is probably enough to give him the edge over killing Code. Ishiki's dojutsu and karma abilities are basically what Kekkei Genkai were in the Naruto manga, where you have two evenly matched fighters and stats go at it in battle, but one of them has a Kekkei Genkai, like say Ice Release or the Byakugan or the Sharingan. Then the person who has the Kekkei Genkai, they're most likely to win the fight. If Kawaki versus Code were equal stats, Kawaki would win due to having Ishiki's dojutsu abilities and having a true karma, which that in itself is going to be interesting. While Kawaki is definitely set on destroying the claw grimes, what this one moment showed us is that he is not invincible. Kawaki can be had, and I think that that was something very important for Boruto Two Blue Vortex to establish, because if we're being honest, at the end of Boruto Naruto Next Generations, Kawaki, even with him having issues of using Ishiki's powers too long, it was understood he just awakened that power. Everyone expected him to be able to manage it better in the time skip, so you had to show that Kawaki still has some flaws. So I thought that this was a smart decision. So on the other hand, when we compare this to Boruto, Boruto's arguably on a different level. Despite having a similar issue with the claw grind, fighting with the ability to teleport through each other, he's literally got one eye to begin with. Despite this, Boruto's using swordplay that I totally appreciate as a Rurouni Kenshin fan, because he's doing what Kenshin Homura did in the Rurouni Kenshin series, which is constantly sheathing and unsheathing his sword for quick sword strikes that are just as fast as they are calculated. Bodies are beginning to drop around Boruto, including slicing the upper half of one of the claw grimes, and upon seeing this, Code realizes that he might have underestimated Boruto because he's clearly leveled up, yet despite this, Code is refusing to listen to Boruto. He's too blinded by his own revenge and his blind worship of Ishiki that he won't listen to anything Boruto's telling him in this moment, despite Boruto showing that he can back up his earlier threat to Code because he easily took out the claw grimes without using karma. That's where things get super interesting here, and this is where we have signs of a major plot point that Kishimoto's cooking up with the pen right now. Boruto tells Code that he's wrong about several things. These claw grimes are not what he thinks they are, and that it's in his best interest to destroy them as soon as possible, or else Code will regret it, going so far as to say that Code has changed the Ten Tails itself. Not only that, but he warns Code that a calamity is coming that Code is bringing about because his actions, and he doesn't realize what he set in motion. This is where you and I have to cut on our handy dandy Sharingan, because it's time to break down what he's actually saying here. The first thing is that Boruto's statement is implying that there's a true terror coming, a terror that Boruto calls the worst possible outcome. It's more than just having a chakra fruit harvested. Boruto has Momoshiki's karma seal. That means he not only gets access to Momoshiki's power, but if he's mastered karma, he also has access to Momoshiki's knowledge. Momoshiki is someone who has harvested thousands of planets, consumed several chakra fruits before he came to Earth. If anyone knows the truth about the Ten Tails, it will be Momoshiki, and Boruto has clearly gained something from that knowledge. But also by gaining Momoshiki's power, Boruto likely knows how to tap into Momoshiki's Shinjutsu to see into the future. Even if it's not something he can see 100% clearly, perhaps even only being able to see fragments. If this is true, Boruto's clearly seen something that is a darker result of what Code has done by making these Ten Tails soldiers. I think the answer to what Boruto has seen goes deeper than him just seeing through Momoshiki's Shinjutsu and gaining knowledge. Allow me to explain. So back when Code first made the Ten Tails soldiers using his karma seal and the claw marks, the first thing I said is that it reminded me of when Hagoromo took the Ten Tails chakra and used the creation of all things jutsu to make the 9 Biju. They started out as small babies and they grew over time. They had their own souls, wants, desires, thoughts, and personalities. By the events of the Boruto era, we see that some of them refuse to even meet inside of Naruto when they're called because they're enjoying their freedom, only coming back into that shared mental space when Kurama died in Boruto episode 218 and all the Biju gathered to say goodbye to him. Code breaking apart those claw grimes and inserting his own chakra into them might have done a similar thing, and based off of Boruto's words in the chapter, this might be the case because Boruto appears to be implying that when you read between the lines of his words, the Ten Tails might have a consciousness of their own, because when Code says that the Ten Tails is merely a brainless monster that eats things until it can consume an Otsutsuki like Boruto Kawaki, Boruto warns them, destroy them while you still have control over them. Keywords being while you still have control over them. Whatever Boruto has seen has him trying to reason with Code, someone who is an Otsutsuki fanatic, but he's clearly prepared to not only kill Code, but also brutalize him to the point that he reveals the hidden location of the Ten Tails so Boruto can destroy it. This is clearly more than just the Ten Tails being used to harvest a chakra fruit, and Code is clearly making the mistake that not just Madara made with Zetsu, not realizing that he had his own will, but he's also making the mistake that Ishiki made with Kaguya. Kaguya was the lower ranked of the two. She was supposed to be fed to the Ten Tails to harvest a a chakra fruit yet. She waited for when Ishiki lowered his guard and she left him near death so that she could take the chakra fruit for herself. Neither Madara or Ishiki saw the betrayal coming, and it appears as if Code won't see the Ten Tails betrayal coming either, which goes back to what Amato said about Code. He isn't the brightest person. Meanwhile, we see Sarada showcasing a few moves that are straight homages to Sasuke in the Naruto manga. When you look at her poses for the fire release jutsu, she uses to take out some of the claw grinds, to her pose when she uses Chidori to take out the remaining claw grinds. Where things get really interesting is whether or not Sarada had a Mangekyo active when she used the Chidori. I've seen some people say they don't believe it was active, and the way that the panel was drawn, it doesn't help because you can't quite see her Mangekyo in that frame. You can't even make out her eyes. What look like there are spokes at the bottom panel where she tagged the claw grinds, that might be her eyelashes. But I will say this, Sarada is not stupid enough to use the Chidori without having her Sharingan cut on. I think a lot of people are forgetting why the Chidori is forbidden to use without the Sharingan. If you go back to Kakashi's flashback in Naruto Volume 27, Minato steps in to save Kakashi because a straight line high-speed movement required for the Chidori as a thrusting jab leaves the user vulnerable to a counterattack because they don't have the ability to see through the tunnel vision that it causes. That's why Minato stepped in to save Kakashi before Kakashi got killed, and why he told Kakashi never use that jutsu again. That's why Kakashi said that the jutsu was incomplete until he got Obito's Sharingan. It literally makes zero sense for Sarada to not have the Sharingan on when performing the Chidori, especially after she was told by Sasuke, you need to use this thing with the actual Sharingan. And even more so, she's already seen the claw grinds can travel through claw marks. She's not going to use a straight line attack without being sure she can counterattack if need be. It's for that reason I strongly believe the Mangekyo or the Sharingan was cut on when she used her Chidori here. That's one knock I will say about the paneling here, in a pretty much otherwise flawless chapter from the paneling perspective. However, just like her peers in Team 10 as well as Kawaki, Sarada makes the mistake of lowering her guard. She thinks that the claw grinds are defeated and dealt with in her area. However, she quickly learns that the claw grinds don't have to be alive for another claw grind to travel through its body, and the Chunin pushes her out the way to avoid being struck. And this time, Sarada learns the lesson that Boruto did when Konohamaru took that attack that saved him from Ao's ninja tech drone. Sarada in this chapter learns the hard way by having two people who are clearly deferring to her because she was stronger get killed right in front of her eyes. When the Ten-Tailed soldiers devour people, they produce what looks like a tree, and honestly, it makes sense. The Ten-Tails is a mere seedling. If we go back to what Amato said when he explained the difference between the Ten-Tails that Jigen had and the Ten-Tails Naruto fought in the 4th Ninja War, there exists the possibility that each of these Ten-Tailed soldiers potentially being a seedling for something when they consume chakra, because we don't see them transform back after they consume Konoha Shinobi, which is something definitely that we need to monitor in the future. This could be a Chekhov's gun waiting to be fired off because Boruto's desperate, and by the end of the chapter, he's using a brand new jutsu with the intention to possibly kill Code. Boruto clearly means business. He's spooked, which brings me to my chapter question. Do you like this tone shift for Boruto's character, and how do you feel about so many people in this new generation being caught off guard? All of them except for Boruto.